Wow. That was the first time playing that. That was pretty cool. I really like that. $55 to somebody somewhere on planet Earth through Fiverr. So well done, whoever that was that I recently paid. Awesome. That's the free market at work, right? Austrian economics. I'll bring that up in a second. But thank you for being here, guys. This is my day off. Took the day off to catch up on my studies for the bar exam and get a workout in midday. That was great. Feeling good. Even though the phone seems to ring more than ever when you're on your day off. Isn't that right? Anyway, let me start right off with a big question. Can Biden do it again? Can Biden do it again? Remember, I operate solely on feel. I'm not a statistics guy. I don't have the metrics. I'm not that well read. I just feel. And that's probably a shortcoming on my part. But it's fun because I can talk about my feelings and you can watch. So I feel that I feel that I don't know if Biden can do it again. Clearly, I think we all felt and saw last election that Biden was Trump's kryptonite. That's the phrase you hear if you talk to people about that performance. He just had Trump's number. Biden had Trump's number. Now, he was aided by the pandemic. Being in his basement, really suited him, served him. We all know that. Do you remember that guy, Ari Fleischer? I think that's his name. You see him on the Fox all the time. Pretty good political commentator. I think he was a press secretary for Bush Sr., if I have that right. And do you remember when he gave Trump a warning on TV because he knew obviously Trump was watching? He said, Mr. President, don't call Joe Biden sleepy because you know what? Some people like sleepy compared to your energy. And so rather, he said, President Trump, why don't you call him weak? Call him weak Joe Biden rather than sleepy Joe Biden. But it was too late by that time. Sleepy Joe had already stuck, and Joe Biden really rode that well. Joe Biden was nimble and nifty. So this time, the dynamics are different, right? They're always going to be different, but they're always going to be similar in some way if it's the same two guys. So can Biden do it again? Now, we have 4 years of Joe Biden to assess for ourselves and say, well, was Sleepy good or was Sleepy not good? Is he weak? And the results are mixed and not great. And on balance, I don't think they're great for Joe Biden. I mean, I'm not going to go down the whole laundry list. You feel that, right? I opened up this stream by talking about my feelings. Well, don't you feel that America was safer under Trump? I do. I'm willing to admit that. Now, remember, I voted for Obama twice. I voted for Hillary and I voted for Joe. The whole point of this podcast is to figure out if I'm going to keep voting for Democrats. And so, but I'm just saying, I'm willing to admit that now. So can Biden do it again? The difference is now we have 4 years to measure him up. And so the dynamic, we know Trump, and now we know Biden. So the dynamic is actually different because before Biden was able to lay low and just ride that wave of being the foil to Trump. But it's a totally different dynamic now that I think about it. So that's what makes this race particularly interesting. Now, next point. Now I have to be an economist too. That's my note. This search for political identity was hard enough when it was just, do I agree with critical race theory, which I was learning in law school, which I found to be controversial. It was hard enough when it was, were the Democrats right about the pandemic? Were the Republicans wrong? It was hard enough when it was just about, are people reacting too strongly, too negatively? In other words, to Donald Trump, is Trump derangement syndrome real? Assessing the political landscape was hard enough with just those factors in the last few years. But as I get a little deeper into it, and it's gaining popularity on Twitter, there was that UFC thing, right? And the fighter mentioned something about Austrian economics, Mises, the 6 lessons or whatever. So people are Googling, and I Googled it. And I'm finally discovering that, wrestling with and acknowledging that if I really want to find my political identity, I can't just feel everything all the time. I got to be an economist too now. I got to learn what Austrian economics is, what Keynesian economics is, and who's right. It's just like, oh my God, it's so difficult and so much. You know that phrase, that famous phrase, of course, or whatever it was, but you will always be able to find an economist that has a differing opinion. So it's like pick one, right? And there was a president who famously said, "Give me a one-handed economist," so they can't say, on the other hand, this could be the case. Now we have to be experts. It's difficult being citizens. You hear people speak with such confidence about these things, and it's like, okay, man, bless you. If you think that you understand all these things, maybe I'm just, I don't want to call myself an idiot, but maybe I've been snoozing for so long. And if I'd really been paying attention all these years, I would know that clearly Keynesians are wrong. And obviously, Austrian economics is the only sensible thing. And therefore, we should end the welfare state. This would all be obvious to me. There's so much to talk about. Let me take another sip. It actually brings me nicely to Andrew Tate, because he really speaks to the culture war, the alleged culture war that are going on. I didn't list that before, but I kind of implied that in my own mind when I mentioned critical race theory being a reason why it's so difficult to navigate this political landscape, because I think we do have a culture war going on, and I don't really know why we have it. I think it is the result of maybe the excesses of feminism, because obviously there are many good things in equal rights, women's rights, progressive movements, all of that. But the question is, obviously that's the case, but the question is, are there elements that have gone too far? Um, is there a point at which you try to progress or change a culture that you kind of get ahead of your skis, so to speak, and suddenly things aren't working right? So enter Andrew Tate, who had that controversial tweet. If you didn't see it, go check out Ben Shapiro's 10 or 11 minute long video commentary on that. I thought it was brilliant. It was really good. What I will say about Andrew Tate is, and then I'll comment a little bit more on the culture war. Andrew Tate is clearly very funny, very smart, very talented. He's like a South Park character, right? Um, and if you only see some of the funny stuff on his account, you would say, like I have in the past, I like this guy. I'm a fan of his, and I think he's right. We're producing weak men. Something is wrong with our culture. Again, I'll touch upon that just again in a minute. But Andrew Tate comes along and says, well, his particular tweet this time was just something else, but generally his thing is, you need to reclaim your masculinity, and Western culture is and I think he thinks that Jews are behind this, but that Western culture is being torn down by, I don't know, a lack of will to fight by Christians, a lack of the white man's spine. The white man has been overtaken by women. The women are running the show now, and they're only having one kid. And that's why we don't have the replacement rate necessary. I say we, I mean, I'm kind of white. I'm like 15% white, like 75% Ashkenazi Jew. But all these terms, the birth rate, Elon Musk, the great replacement theory, let's talk about it briefly. I think I opened the show by saying I'm not a numbers guy, I'm not a statistics guy, but haven't you heard that white people are not having children at a rate that they used to, at a rate necessary to replenish and sustain their own population? Have you heard that? I have. And so, like Ben Shapiro brilliantly said in his video, Andrew Tate will say two or three things that are right, are absolutely correct, that are also politically incorrect, which draws the attention. But then he'll go and say something outlandish, you know. And so the fact that and so my only thing on Andrew Tate is, dude, do you want to pursue the money in the way you see fit, as long as you're not breaking the law and that's for the legal system to play out, go for it. And I'm not going to comment on his legal situation, but the hypocrisy is pretty amazing, isn't it? To say that white men in America, or men in general, are no longer men, and that they're letting the women run the show, and you're watching porn and jerking off when you're Andrew Tate. I mean, a pretty amazing lack of self-awareness there. So it's just that's strange to me, but I do think he's funny and talented and right about this general idea that when you look around our culture today in America, we have less testosterone. We just have less testosterone. Okay, maybe that's as simple as that. So Andrew Tate, you know, I don't have a ton of respect. I will say, about how he made his money. Now, I don't want to judge as well. I don't want to judge. So I'm kind of neutral about that. If you broke the law, then so be it. And obviously, you would never want someone to be a victim of unfair judicial proceedings. But look, at a certain point, you say the judicial process is going to be clean and play out. But that actually brings me to my next point. Hold on. How do you know what's true? 66 court cases. Trump was thrown down, blah, blah, blah about the election fraud. And then people will say, yeah, but the judicial system is corrupt. Well, it's like, I'm questioning everything. And part of my problem is that I don't know where to stop this questioning. I love this alien subject. Are aliens real? And that's a product of, if they're not, it's a product of an insanely successful CIA misinformation campaign, right? So misinformation, so much access to the information today. It's very difficult. This is the theme here, I think, of this conversation. It's very difficult to be informed. I think, are aliens real, man? I mean, shit, I want there to be. I love that. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. I need to go pull up the list of questions that I promised my audience that I would answer from last week because I skipped last week's live stream. And so actually I'll look at it on my computer. Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry. Let me pull that up. Let me see that thong. Let me pull this up. It's a different time, man. Eventually, I'll become that old person that just looks at the current generation with disgust, right? That's a separate note, though. Just a filler thought as you wait for me. Give me 1 second. I come from the Cisco thong song generation. I don't really understand these kids. Just 2 seconds, guys. Just loading. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay. Several questions from my audience that I said I would answer. So let me do that. Favorite number 1 through 10. Well, my favorite number is 11. So 1 through 10, I guess, would be 7. Should the clemency of Ross Ulbricht be a top priority for all free thinkers and lovers of liberty? Yes, I guess. I mean, here's the thing. Look, if I was an attorney, and I haven't studied the case super closely, if you're an attorney for Ross, you could make some brilliant and really salient points and argue for his freedom. If you're the attorney for the government, you could make similarly strong opinions. I guess the 30,000-foot question on Ross Ulbricht is, should we have in jail a person who created let's think of a brothel, a big brothel, because what he did was build Silk Road, this digital anonymous marketplace, right? Let's say it's a really big brothel and there's prostitution going on in the rooms. There's drug dealing going on in the rooms. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the rooms. You don't know what's going on in the rooms. He doesn't know what's going on in the rooms. Nobody knows what's going on in the rooms. But you come to his brothel, you pull up, you walk in, and you cloaked, right, in some garb, mysterious, hide your identity. And the transactions begin. You go to the room you want, whatever you want, and you blah, blah, blah. The question is he the owner of the land, the owner of the building? Does he deserve to be in prison? I mean, I love my libertarians friends, and I say that. Let me say that again. I really love the people who I've met recently, learning a little bit about libertarianism. I love the community. I love the ideas. I love the movement. I might find myself 2, 3, 6 months from now deeper into it. But to say that he did nothing wrong when God knows who knows what could be going on in any of these rooms, is that so? Look, there are great arguments, like I said before, for and against, and I think it should be a top priority. I think it's a really poignant case, a really a great intersection of liberty and statism. Okay, so let me move on to the next question. Um, who's your favorite podcast guest so far? So many. I'm going to say Joe Exotic. Episode 100, 15 minutes I had with him from federal prison. Episode 100. You won't find that on YouTube or Rumble, but audio podcasts. That's in the archives. Okay, this is where it gets hard. Who are we? Where are we from? Where are we going? To be or not to be? What is life? Do we have free will? What is consciousness? What is our place in the universe? God, see more. This guy went on forever. Jake. Is there a God? What is reality? So it all is really one big question. And you as well, audience, have probably seen these clips floating around from these guys, Billy Carson, from this Bashar. Maybe that's presumptuous to say you're on my algorithm. Let me start over. I have been, okay, I'll go even further back. I was an atheist in high school and college. Then I would call myself an agnostic, raised Reformed Jew, bar mitzvah. Post college, I would say, yeah, I'm an agnostic, and now I'm spiritual. And you learn about this new age stuff and energy and the quantum level and atomics and light bodies, and it's like, okay, that's where I am on my journey. So you ask me, what are we? Where are we going to be? What is life? It's energy being funneled and channeled from this dimension to that dimension. We're on this dimension. The idea being that consciousness is something external to our body, and we are light. We are souls with a human body, not a human body that itself produces this awareness. So the big question, do we have souls? Is our consciousness just a result of the brain activity? I want to believe that we are light beings, eternal beings, that God is the ultimate highest source energy, and that everything else is a distillation from that. You know, are aliens here, or am I just a victim of a CIA misinformation campaign? Too much sci-fi. What is our place in the universe? What is reality? Well, so many people are saying it's a matrix, right? In the sense that the empty space here is not just empty space. Our reality is a construct on top of a base code, a foundation that we don't have access to, seemingly, which has infinite energy in it. And so all these things, all these conspiracies. I've been online too much, right? You know, are all these people crazy? Is Jake Chansley, the guy who I think is a sweetheart, really smart, and I'm a big fan of, the QAnon shaman, are all these people just victims of misinformation? Or is the government and world governments, are they hiding a lot from us? So what is reality? Shit, man. Who's showing up to this conversation? The new age Brian, who wants to believe that we're all beings of light, or the atheist from high school? Right now it's the light beings, boy. So, okay. Do I have more from there? Let's see. I don't know. That might have been it. Okay, so let me finally wrap up this pretty much by telling you who I have coming up on my podcast, actually on Friday. So that means tomorrow I have homework to do. His name is John Morse. He's running for something. Let me find it. Okay. John Morse is running for Maryland's 3rd congressional district as the only progressive in the race. He's a seasoned union lawyer with a substantial background in labor law, pro bono representation of unaccompanied children, and a steadfast commitment to workers' rights and equitable economic practices. Raised in a union house and having served as a lawyer for the Association of Flight Attendants, John's career has consistently advocated for working families, small businesses, and community services. His advocacy extends to opposing many on the Hill, particularly for his courage to address humanitarian issues ignored by government officials, Gaza especially. He's been endorsed by Bernie Sanders, UAWAFA, and 4 other unions. Okay, a progressive guy running for Congress. So a House seat, right? Okay. John Morse. Do my homework tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. I thank you all for being here. Did we accomplish anything today? Let's recap. What did we accomplish? We asked, can Biden do it again? We mused ever so briefly on the fact that I now have to become an expert in economics to figure out my political identity. Great, that'll be easy. We mentioned that Andrew Tate is right about many things, is very funny, clearly intelligent, and very talented. But there is something going on there that is strange in my humble opinion, and I mean that respectfully. Strange in the sense that the lack of self-awareness between how he made his money and his diagnosis of the problems in Western culture. It's like, okay, do you hate yourself? And if you don't, how do you explain that? And I went through some questions, and in a beautiful fashion, you loved it. You loved that segment. And then I told you about my next guest. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to play the new outro. This is what it is, man. This is genuine. I'm searching for political identity. I've managed to hook up with great guests. I got another one coming up, as I mentioned. And that's the credibility. My guests are my credibility. So I thank them so much. See y'all Friday. I'll probably release it Friday. All right, man.